Hi, I was finishing up the lesson 8 from Gleb's workshop, and I ran into a section about aliases, which reminded me of a video that he made with setting up aliases inside before each block. So I get a lot of questions about this still, and it catches a lot of people off guard. So I thought I would expound it a little bit and take this opportunity. So let's say we're using some aliases, and we're going to use cyfixture. So because it's an asynchronous operation that reads from a JSON file, and that JSON file, by the way, is just looking like these two items. So you could compare this to a network call, right? It's synonymous to that. So when we're using the aliases, we set an alias, say this fixture has two items. Uh, we can refer back to it with an at symbol, at alias, at two items should have length two. But the thing is, if we have to keep repeating the alias, right? So if we don't skip this test, the alias isn't going to be defined, and it's not going to know about it. Right? So to deal with that situation, what we do is the same exact thing, but we repeat the alias before each test, and that's the only difference here. Okay, so context only, and then this time before each. All right, then we're okay. Right, the second test does the same thing, and it's going to work fine. So people think, okay, now could I just refer to this alias like normally without the alias referral? No, that's not going to work in this format because that item isn't defined. You could, however, use instead of a arrow function, you can use a function, a regular function, and then once you do that, you can refer to that item with the this keyword, and this is pretty much the only time you would use a regular function in Cypress, but that allows you to uh, access the function context and your test to have an idea about what those are. Okay, so you could do the TDD style with expect this two items, or you could do the VDD style. You can just wrap that and start chaining with Cypress. Now, another question comes up. Okay, now we can just use the function keyword and use this to refer to the alias. What if you don't want to use function keyword and you don't want to repeat a call before every test? So that comes up when you're communicating with a server or in API testing. You just want to do, let's say you want to get a token once, you don't want to keep getting a token in every test. How do you do that? And that's what Gleb covered in the video that I want to expound on. So you declare a value in the outer scope, and then in the before block, so this time we're not using before each, but in the before block, you yield that in the then block and you set that value. And some linters may complain about you doing this, but that's okay. You can just ignore that. Then, once you do that, then you don't have to use the function keyword or this anymore. Right? It just works flat out. Just expect two items to have length, or you can just wrap it in uh, the Cypress wrap to have that BDD style. And this approach, declaring a value in the outer scope and then setting that in the within the then context in the before block, is not too different from what you're used to with unit tests, right? With unit tests, often if you want to do like a before or before each, doesn't matter. We are declaring some value in the outer scope. We are setting it in the before block, and then still using the arrow function. Uh, we access that variable without this keyword. All right, so that's something that confuses people and hard to wrap your mind around it. But in summary, uh, that's that. Aliases, you usually, if you want to use them, you have to do a before each. If you want to refer to a value of an alias, you can use a regular function with a this keyword. If you don't like any of that, declare it in the outer scope and then set that value. And I think this is my favorite.